Hello, everyone, and welcome to Road to Etoudi. I am your usual host, Mimi Mefo Neo. We continue to cover the presidential election in Cameroon, which is scheduled for the. Hello, once again, everyone. We apologize for that mix up. We continue to cover the presidential election scheduled for October 12, 2025. My name is Mimi Mefo Neo, and this is Road to A2D. In this program, or on this program, we continue to talk with aspiring presidential candidates. We talk about Cameroon's future after 43 years of CPDM leadership. What is the way forward for Cameroon? We bring aspiring candidates on board, members of the opposition, Cameroonians in general, to know what their thoughts are about Cameroon's future. But before we look at today's guest, who is also an aspiring presidential candidate, let us have a look at some of the major developments of the last 48 hours in Cameroon. The first story that is making headlines today and was covered by Mimi Mefo Ifo was the MRC political party, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, that has taken the elections governing body Elekam to court, the Constitutional Court, and the court today ruled that the institution is not competent to handle the case that has been brought to its attention by the MRC party. According to the MRC, the elections governing body, ELECAM, has to release the electoral list before the upcoming presidential election in Cameroon. But the question is, if the Constitutional Court is not competent, which institution is? That is the question. But that's not the only story that is making headlines in Cameroon today. One of the stories also is still within the ranks of the MRC. Bibu Nisak's family is being attacked. Bibu Nisak has been in detention for so many years now, and the MRC party is denouncing the fact that there were attempts to assassinate or kill members of his family that are in Yaoundé. And we don't have details yet, but we've been covering that on our different platforms based on the release that was issued by the MRC party. The family members of Bibo Nisak are under attack, and we can see how the house is ramshacked by unknown individuals. Investigations are currently underway. And so far, we have a lot of stories as well making headlines in Cameroon. We have also Cabral Libi not staying silent with regards to happening across the country. The MRS is not the only party making news. Cabral Libi is also a presidential hopeful. There was a wave of appointments within the ranks of divisional officers and senior divisional officers recently in Cameroon. And according to Cabral Libi, the Idabato divisional officer's transfer is unfair because deserves an he deserves a promotion and not a transfer only. Idabato Dio was kidnapped by rebels from neighboring Nigeria and held captivity for several months. He was only released 5 months after this same year, and he stayed under captivity. We saw how his family was struggling for him to be released, but he was recently transferred from Idabato, that is in Xiang Division, to the Central Region of Cameroon. So, according to Kabralibi, he deserves a promotion and not a transfer. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section. And that's not the only story that's making headlines. You also have Issa Shuma Bakari, who is not staying quiet. He says that he's going to be organizing a press conference tomorrow to explain the past and outline his presidential vision. All of these stories, you can find them on Mimi Mefo Info website, www.mimimefoinfos.com. And also sports. Samuel Etofis is insisting that Mark Brice has resigned. Mark Brice is the head coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. We recently just saw on social media that Mark Brice resigned and that he announced his resignation, only for Cameroonians to see few hours after that he has issued a statement and even a video statement saying that he has not resigned and that his social media platforms were hacked. But Samuel Eto'o insists that he has resigned. What do you think? But all of these are a pure reflection of the current situation in Cameroon, the cacophony, the chaos, and the uncertainties that are plaguing the national football team, the national scene, politics, and everywhere, insecurity, and so on. And those are some of the things that the presidential candidates are talking about. So, like I said earlier, the Electoral Board Elections Cameroon is now scrutinizing the various files of candidates who want to unseat incumbent President Paul Biya. For the first time in the history of Cameroon, we have 83 candidates wanting to run for post of president. Young and old, we saw all the faces, we saw all those who went to elections Cameroon in different regions of Cameroon wanting to run for post of president. We also saw the reactions on social media. Cameroonians are not silent about this. And this year's election is unprecedented for Cameroon, a country that has seen only two presidents since it gained independence in 1960. And tensions are rising as 82 candidates want to unseat incumbent Biya. We see chaos also within the camps of the ruling party. They are unsure how to proceed because no one is wanting to be left behind. Now, President Paul Biya is one of war's, or he is war's oldest sitting leaders, and he has ruled Cameroon since 1982. So he's now seeking an eighth term in office. And one of those people that want to unseat him and thinks that he has a better vision for Cameroon is actually Prince Michael Ngwese Ekosso. He is our guest tonight. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Road to Etoudi.
Good evening, Mimi. Good evening to your team.
Mhm.
You've been a very good and wonderful friend for a very long time. I admire your work, admire your tenacity and your courage to address critical issues back at home, which many people are shying away from. As a female journalist, you have demonstrated a lot of courage, vigor, and tenacity, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And we are having you today. It's our honor to have you, first of all. And we're having you today because we need to talk about the future of Cameroon. And you are one of those that took the bold step to say you want to run. And it's, of course, not the first time that you're doing that. Why were you one of the 82 candidates who filed documents to unseat Biya? Why did you decide to run for post of president in Cameroon?
Well, Mimi, that question is contingent on the different reports that you have been making about the state of our country for all these years. And it must be understood that the vision of the United Socialist Democratic Party and the vision of Prince Ekosso doesn't
Mhm,
stem from just getting to run for presidential election. We have been in this business, as you know, for a number of years now, trying to make proposals
mhm,
on the things that will be able to help our country to move forward. So basically, my intention of running for president is to be able to contribute fundamentally to make sure that Cameroon becomes that nation that is respected not only in terms of football, but in terms of the economy.
mhm,
Over the years now, we have seen Cameroonians being disgraced in various nations of the world because they are trying to escape to look for greener pastures. Whereas the
mhm,
country is very, very rich, uh, the natural resource in Cameroon is up to date, but the management of that natural resources that should be able to be available for all Cameroonians is lacking. And so my intention is to make sure that I belong to a position that will be able to manage the nation in a proper way that will allow the 35 million or 30, 40 million people in Cameroon to have what to eat and what and where to stay. So those are the things that has conditioned my enthusiasm to
mhm.
continually seek for places of position of authority. to be able to
Mm.
manage the affairs of the country.
Yes, we would want to know what your plans are to address the economic woes plaguing the country, how to provide jobs, and so on and so forth. But when I saw your
Yeah,
profile and our editorial team decided, oh, we want to have Prince Ekosso today, I had a lot of questions on
yeah,
my mind. And I want this to be a heart to heart talk between you and I. And you've
that's right.
enumerated a number of things that are very important and they are pertinent. But I had to flip through
Mm.
your social media platform to really see what Prince Ekosso has been up to um, since the time the previous election took place in 2018 till today. I didn't really see much. A lot has happened in Cameroon, and the floods, the conflicts in the Anglophone regions. We've had a lot of people being arrested, even in the littoral region, in the far north. There's Boko Haram. We have a lot happening even within the ranks of the opposition where you belong. But we've not seen you really speaking to those young Cameroonians because you've been one of those candidates who stood out to say you want younger Cameroonians' voices to be heard at the polls, and that you want people as young as 18 to vote. It means that you are a candidate who stands for young people, the younger generation, and most of them are on social media. But looking at your social media platform, I have the impression that you just appear when the election is there. Do you want to say something about
Well,
that?
yes, of course. Basically, Mimi, you know me, I think somewhat, and at some point in time, people began to say that, well, I was only much more involved on social media in my politicking, and so I had to change maybe the strategy. If
Mm-hmm.
you look at some of the events, I have been on the ground consistently addressing issues. I must remind Cameroonians that I'm one of the people who stood to 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 uh, to make sure that when you were arrested, some years ago, I stood up and made my voice heard to make sure that you were released, and that happened. And that is what I've been doing. Recently, I've been on the ground, especially in the Fako region, to make sure that I provide certain information, not only information, but to provide certain basic necessities to Cameroonians who are suffering.
Mm,
You understand the context of the Anglophone crisis, and I have had the opportunity to house a number of them, and to sponsor them to schools, sponsor some to do some job, sponsor some to do some trade, and all of that. So it's unfortunate that some of those events that I've been doing, I don't carry them and bring them on social media, but it has been very, very eventful for USDP and for Prince Ekosso. And I address those key things that are day-to-day living of the people. So
mm.
it's unfortunate that I don't bring some of those events on social media because I found it my intervention in some of the issues of Cameroonians were a little bit sensitive, and I didn't want to bring them on social media so that it doesn't expose a number of other things that could instead jeopardize, their security. So basically, those are some of the reasons why you don't see some of those events or some of those activities much on social media.
So that could probably explain why you are not the only opposition leader writing on social media or commenting, because the space has become so unpredictable that you never know what to expect. But that is also the space where we have a lot of young Cameroonians and even people from the older generations. They want to see their people not just vocal on traditional media and doing things. They also want to see them present on, because the first thing people do is when they wake up is to check what is happening on Facebook, on their WhatsApp. And if they go to Facebook and their leaders or those who claim to be the leaders are not heard there, are not seen there. So it gives the impression that they are completely absent. But before we talk about that and what the opposition has been doing, I wanted to find out from you about your role in terms of addressing insecurity in Cameroon. We have two major, but many, of course, We have the microbe in the littoral, which even spanned across even the center region of Cameroon. We have people that cannot even walk in broad daylight because they would be assaulted by hoodlums in major cities and towns and across Cameroon. But we also have the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and the southwest. If you are elected president today, what will be your solution?
Well, Mimi, thank you for that very fundamental question. You know, security is fundamental as long as the human life is concerned. And as long as the Cameroon population is concerned, about 65 to 70% of the population are made up of young people between the ages of 15 to about 30, 45, thereabout. And it is fundamental that we protect our citizens. The borders have to be protected, the citizens have to be protected, their goods and the services have to be protected. And one of the ways to be able to do that is to make sure that we train our forces of law and order to respond to the current needs of the time. You know, basically, sometimes people, and within the context of Africa and particularly in Cameroon, the forces of law and order misunderstood their role in society. And so we must train. One of the things as president, I have to retrain, you know, our forces of law and order to make sure that they have the fundamental principles on what it means to do security and protection of people. It is fundamental because most of the times we have seen where our security forces have become a problem to the citizens than the other way around. So we must train them again. We must re-educate them again to understand that a country like Cameroon, which is so volatile, has to have forces of law and order that are nationalists in the first place, to understand that they have been employed by these same citizens to take care of their security. That's the first point. And we will equip them with modern technology on how to track crimes and to track insecurity issues. Those are the things that we are able to do and that we are going to do. And
So
when it comes
is
to the
it also
Anglophone
related
crisis,
to, okay, sorry for interrupting. Carry on. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So when it comes to the Anglophone crisis as a holistic a problem, you know, we understand that the Anglophone problem has a historical background, which, in my view, the current regime has categorically refused to go into the intricacies of that historical background. And we will not be afraid to go and dig some of those things that actually went wrong. Because in order to solve the people's problem, you must be able to go into the issues that matter. When you refuse to go into the issues that matter, you create suspicion in the minds of people. And when there is suspicion, you create tension. And when there is tension, people express tension in various ways. So we must be able to go into the matters. When I say go into the matters, we are going to have a program where people of the other side, when I say people of the other side, the separatist movement will have the opportunity to sit on a table with me chairing the meeting, not with some minister, not by some secretary general or whatsoever, by me, the chief of the armed forces. I will sit with them, listen to them, talk with them, and understand their concept, and bring them also my perspective about nation building. That is the way you draw people out of their anger, draw people out of their own concept. Because if you don't listen to people, you cannot know what they are thinking. And when you don't know what they are thinking, you cannot solve their problems. So that is what I'm going to do. Sit with them. You can call it national dialogue. You can call it maybe discussion, whatever name you want to give it. But the problem is sitting with the people and talking with the people and understanding what they are thinking about the issues that matter. That is an element of solving the security issues. Because when you talk about security, security is not some kind of word coming from the skies. Insecurity means that some people have taken the laws into their hands and they are creating tension. You mentioned a while ago about the microbe in Douala and now some few weeks ago in Yaoundé and so on and so forth. Who are these? They are people who are creating what we call tension, creating frightful situations in the community. They are all Cameroonians. They are human beings. But now, how do you solve that problem of insecurity? Is by getting into the crux of the matter. It's not by sitting somewhere and signing decrees.
Okay, you've
Decrees have not
mentioned two
solved the problem.
things. You've mentioned two things, the crux of the matter, which is something I want to know. But I also wanted to find out, you said that as a leader, you have to be present when the discussions are taking place, which was something that was not present during the national dialogue that took place in Cameroon.
Sorry.
We've had a lot of commissions being created, commissions upon commissions. We also have the DDR Center that is also there. So many institutions in place to kind of put an end to the Anglophone crisis. Where do you really think things failed?
Well, thank you once again for that question. I have made myself very clear on these matters with regards to they call it the Grand National Dialogue and so on. So I've made myself very clear on the matter from the beginning. I said that the Grand National Dialogue was not going to produce anything whatsoever, and that is what we obtain now. So what I believe went wrong is that the people that were supposed to be in this Grand National Dialogue were not there. They brought in people who had nothing to propose, even though at some point in time certain proposals were made. But at the same time, it will appear that the intention for the national dialogue was not to solve the Anglophone problem, was to create another situation whereby they can still be in control to manipulate the situation on the ground. So that is what went wrong. The intention to really solve the problem wasn't there. Because if the intention was there, then we would have seen progress, even with the resolutions that were taken. For example, talking about the setting up of the DDR, for example.
Yes.
The setting up of the DDR was a good initiative. But what is the outcome of that setting up of the DDR? Have we achieved the goal? Because each time I go to Boya, I see some of those children parading around that vicinity as people who are lost, who don't have anywhere to go to. The intention, in my view, was to be able to reinsert those people back into the society, train them, remove the mentality of violence from them, and then integrate them back into the society. Let them start becoming normal Cameroonians again. But you cannot keep them in that DDR for the rest of their life. It's more than how many years ago that they have been there. What is the way forward? Nobody is telling you about that.
So in
Look at the issue
way,
of
Cameroon was not ready for DDR then.
The intention of the issues surrounding the national dialogue was faulty, right? People were looking for situation to impose their own ideas instead of solving the problem on ground. I will mention again. Look, for example, the issue of the what they call special status, for example. Special status. What is the impact of the special status today? There is virtually no impact, because the special status actually should have been a way to be able to give certain degree of autonomy to the Northwest and the Southwest. But is that the case today? The answer is completely no. So back to what I am saying, the intention was not to solve the problem. The intention was to continue to manipulate the people and to manipulate the situation, which is not the best way of leadership. Leadership that is not honest in its own resolution cannot be, cannot actually have that ability to solve the problems of the people. And I will mention again, when people decide to be able to manipulate a situation, there's always going to be a backfiring. And what we see today is that there is still no permanent security or security measures in the Northwest and the Southwest. If that is the case, some of the ministers who go to the Northwest and the Southwest should not be going in 2025 with military personnel.
Yes,
if
okay,
everything was
okay,
okay.
yeah, that only tells us how dire the security situation in the Anglophone regions is. But as we conclude on this aspect, because there are so many things to talk about, including your socio-economic programs. You've mentioned
That's right.
the understanding the crux of the matter. It sounded to me like you're talking from a distance. Anyone listening to this program and watching us should know that you are also a son of the soil. You know what the problem is. You also probably know what the solutions are. You hail from the Anglophone parts of Cameroon, and it's as a journalist who's been reporting this conflict from the very first day, have come to understand that there is no other way of creating awareness on the Anglophone crisis than the people who understand the problem telling the nation, the French speaking brothers and sisters, people even out of Cameroon, what the real problem is and what the real solutions are. You've looked at the solutions by saying that if you're president, you'll be inclusive in the discussions and you'll be available and present. But what is the problem? When you're talking about the crux of the matter, can you be very specific to tell us what is the problem so that people can understand?
Well, Vivi, thanks once again for that question or for that orientation. As I speak to you right now, there is one of my political comrades who is also the president of a political party based in Gaundere, who is a francophone. He is here in my house and he's following the issue, the discussion from another corner of the room. And
Right.
just to show you that I am a man of the people. I have friends, political party leaders, young political party leaders from across the nation who believe in me, who listen to me, and the Anglophone problem has been part of our discussions on daily basis, and especially during this period. And I've made it vehemently clear to all of them that the historical deficiencies of the Anglophone problem can only be solved by an Anglophone president, which I am putting myself in that pedestal. And I have made it abundantly clear that the crux of the matter stems or no. And I am not too sure that I have or we have the time to be able to go into some of those historical events. But just to cut the long story short, we know very well that this country was there was the Southern Cameroons and there was the French Cameroon. And after some time, when when the French Cameroon got its independence, that same time, the the Southern Cameroon got its independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon, which was not a good strategy. Which was not a good strategy, and because of that, there have been a lot of marginalization, and the process of this integration has been faulty because even President Pobia confirmed in Paris some years ago that they have been struggling to be able to actually dominate the Anglo-Saxon culture or the Anglo-Saxon community, but they have not succeeded. Those are the crux of the matter. Domineering over a country, or let me say a section of the country that has a completely different perspective in terms of politics, in terms of education, in terms of legal issues, in terms of even culture,
So
was an
concretely,
error,
what changes will
was
you
a very big error.
make if you are president? What will you do? Would you grant the separatist independence? Would you go for two-state federation, 10-state federation? What would you go for if you are president?
Now, now this is the caption of my political agenda, what we call the manifesto. The manifesto of USDP talks about one nation, two systems within the context of a federal constitution. We understand that the federal constitution that was initiated in in the 1960s was breached in 1972. And because from that moment, from 1972, the tension and the marginalization began to intensify itself. So, but some people argue that federalism has never, Nigeria has federalism, America has federalism, but it is not a perfect society. Yes, no society is perfect, but we want to adopt a system that works. Federalism works because it gives people a certain level of autonomy. People want to be autonomous about their own selves, about what they feel about themselves. People want to have their own rights. People want to ascertain their situation and to be able to make sure that what they do, they are responsible for what they do. No human being wants to be put in a cage. No human being wants to be put in prison. No human being wants to be put in a situation where he or she cannot think for his or herself. That is what federalism gives. Because each state, if at all, we subscribe to the a 10-state federalism, then we will be able to have 10 states. If the states has to migrate from 10 to maybe 12 or 15 thereabout, we will be able to migrate to that situation. So the basic factor here is to make sure that we understand, first of all, that underlying problem, which is one nation, two systems. The two systems have to operate.
Okay, so one nation, two system by
Two
Prince
systems within
Ekosso
the context
of the
within the
Anglophone
context of the
crisis.
federal constitution.
Federal
Within the
constitution of
context of the
the
federal constitution. Yes.
Yes, so I think that,
Yes.
yes, looking at how much you can talk about the Anglophone crisis, we can have a special discussion just on that. But one final question on this issue.
Yeah.
Will you be campaigning in the
Yeah.
Anglophone regions? Will you go there to campaign, tell the people that, look, we need a new, which areas in the Anglophone regions will you be going there to talk to the people during campaigns?
I will obviously go to the northwest and the southwest. But now the specific towns and places I cannot know for now because my team is still working on the issues, and especially when it has to do with security, because security is fundamental when it comes to issues like this. So I cannot guarantee that everywhere in the northwest and southwest they love me or they want to hear from me. But the truth is that our people have to hear the message. I will go to them. I will speak to them in the places which my campaign team is going to identify.
So the Anglophone crisis is not the only problem that the Biya government has not addressed. We also have the Boko Haram in the far north region. So many people have died, young women suffering, children have not been going to school. But we have very little information on the impact of the Boko Haram crisis. How would you address that as well?
Well, it is true that the Boko Haram situation is a little bit slightly different from that of the Northwest and the Southwest crisis. But I want to reiterate that it is almost going to be the same procedure to be able to curb the insecurity there. And we must understand that one of the reasons for the Boko Haram is because of the negligence of the current regime with regards to the livelihood of the people of the extreme north. I must tell you, I've been to some of those places. The level of misery, poverty, suffering of our fellow citizens in the extreme north and the north, it is unbearable. It is really unbearable. And because of lack of development, because of lack of infrastructures, because of lack of modern systems, these people become vulnerable and they can give in to any kinds of caprices. And that is what actually transpired. Because of the suffering of the people, they have to give in to certain practices that they feel will be able to provide food on their table. So we must first of all attack the issues of poverty, also in the extreme north. Poverty and misery, lack of education, lack of basic amenities like water and roads and all of that. Those things, when they are available in that community, you will rarely find people trying to be able to become violent. The violence that is trying to come out in Cameroon at this point in time is as a result of the lack of, commitment by the current regime to solving the people's daily problems. That is the basic aspect about all of these things about Boko Haram or insecurity. But once the people are having jobs to do, they will not be thinking of going to take guns or going to meet somebody who has a gun to go and frighten some other people to create a panic so that they can be able to survive. Those are the issues. And I think that the same security measures we are going to use to, first of all, protect our borders in the extreme north is going to help to be able to make sure that once we put those infrastructures, our people are going to be stable and they will concentrate on the things that matter.
Yes, let's look at the economic policies. There's high inflation in Cameroon. Living standard is very, very low. Job opportunities, you've talked about it, are unavailable. We want to know what you are offering in terms of solving these problems, which are also affecting the living standards of Cameroonians. What will be your solution?
Well, one of my solutions is industrialization. I've mentioned this abundantly on TV and on social media platforms, that industrialization is key to strengthening the economy. Without industrialization, you cannot talk about a strong economy. And when you talk about industrialization, you are talking about energy. Energy is what will be able to actually provide the power behind creating industries. And now, when we look at the Cameroon landscape, we look at the environment. Cameroon has a lot of sources of energy. You have the hydroelectric energy, which is possible to be gotten with the Lompanga and the Mekim power supply, which is delaying itself for many years now. But again, we want to make sure that when some of these, energy resources are developed, they will be divided into sectors. For example, take a look at the Menchum Fall. I know you know about the Menchum Fall. The Menchum Fall has been assessed and concluded that the Menchum Fall can provide energy for Central Africa, for the entire Central Africa zone. That is the estimate, that is the evaluation of the potential of that Menchum Fall. Now, why is it that the Menchum Fall has not been developed or it has not been exploited? It is because the will to solve the people's problem is not there. The vision to industrialize Cameroon is not there. Now, when I become the president, I will focus on developing hydroelectric powers that will be divided into different regions. For example, the Menchum Fall will cover between the northwest and the southwest and the west region. What obtains already in, for example, in Ideya will cover part of littoral and part of the central region. I mean the south region, and with the Menkim and the Lompanga, we will use them now to supply power in east region, central region, and part of the south. And then in the north, we'll develop Lagdo. Lagdo is a power dam that should have been developed very, very strong. We use Lagdo to supply now the power from Adamawa right to the extreme north. In that way, the energy power is divided. Now, this power, we will use this power now to develop industries. We will not carry our cocoa to America or to France for it to be transformed there. We'll build industries in Cameroon that will transform this product from raw materials to finished goods. Then we can now export. We can now export them. When you export them when it is finished good, the value is high. When the value is high, then we can have a strong economy. Now, I was talking about the issue of energy. I said the energy will be divided into two parts. One, hydroelectric power, and the other one we will use the sun power, we use gas power, and wind power, and some of those modern development on energy. We will exploit them and use it now for domestic use. So those are the two parallel lines of our energy production. So the wind power, the solar power, and uh, 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 gas power, we will use it for domestic purposes. Now,
Mm.
when we have this energy, this sufficient energy, we will be able to even sell some of this energy to neighboring countries. I bet you Nigeria has limited energy power. It is alleged that because we have consistent light cuts in Cameroon, it is alleged that the government, I cannot prove that, but it is alleged that the government is selling part of our energy to some countries around. We don't know those countries yet, but that is what is alleged. But if we develop the energy very well, that can contain our own production, then we can sell some part of that energy now to neighboring countries officially and openly, you know, and we will have a lot of money to inject it back into the economy, create jobs, get our people to become very active in some of those
Mm-hmm.
industries. The youth who go to universities will not come out and be driving Okada anymore. They will be trained to focus on the situation on ground. And those are the things that we are going to do. And those are things that are doable, Mimi.
Are
Those
doable.
are things that are
Yes.
doable,
If the
you
political
know.
will is there, it's possible. Okay, so Prince
That is
Ekosso,
what I'm saying.
and yes, before we continue, I've seen someone commenting because also we go live because we want to also hear what Cameroonians think about the person that we are receiving. And if they have a question or two, they can also send through for you to respond. I saw someone
That's
asking
right.
the question and affirming that of course the situation, the security situation in the far north region is dire, the population is suffering, there's indeed poverty in the north, but a large part of this war is being manipulated by external forces, according to Alain Miko. He also says that we do not make weapons. Where do these weapons come from? Would you want to respond?
Yeah. Thank you, Alain Miko, for that wonderful question. I think that he knows what he's talking about. And Alain is somebody that I know, and we have been talking about these things back and forth. The issue is that we have allowed our borders to be so porous, and we have weakened our moral responsibility to protect our people in such a way that there are people who actually want to use different means either to stay in power or to create destabilization so that they can continue to manipulate. Now, these weapons come from other countries. We all know that there are people who want to actually take hold of power, especially at this time that President Biya has become very weak. You know, he is not active as
How
he
can you
used to
say
be.
Bia is weak
In
when
yes,
he's going to be contesting with you, Prince Ekosso? Bia is a candidate like you. How can you say he's weak?
no, when I talk about weak, I'm talking about in terms of age. At 93, you cannot say that I and Bia can handle the same energy. It's not possible. You know, so we must be honest about some of these things. And even with his administration, it has proven, you know, and I can prove it with reasonable doubt that Mr. Bia is not in control of a lot of things going on around him as the president of the republic. That's a fact, and this which are proven, you know.
Mm.
So we must understand that. And when you are in that state, there are things that what they call in French, so a sharp, you know, it goes away from your grip. You don't get control of the situation when you are at a certain age. You cannot move to certain places. You cannot maybe address certain issue. You are scared. Maybe you are sick. Maybe and things like that.
Yes.
Man. So
So yes, we are
sorry, I don't
just
know what's
waiting for a
happening.
few
My screen
seconds
got
for our guests to adjust things from this end, and we can see a
okay.
lot
All
of
right.
people they're commenting. Please share this live so that more Cameroonians can come on board and be part of this important conversation, which has to do with the future of Cameroon and the presidential election. Prince Ekosso is here, And I think we should move to health, your healthcare policies, because a lot is happening in the healthcare sector in Cameroon. Access to healthcare, like basic healthcare facilities, is a problem. We've received tons of messages inbox from mothers with children who do not even have the means to take care of their young babies that have been born, children that have been nursing mothers blocked in the hospital because of medical bills. A lot of problems happening in the healthcare sector today. What are your healthcare policies to address some of these problems and also improve the conditions in the health sector in Cameroon?
Yeah, Mimi, thank you for that. Thank you for that very fundamental question. I would like to say to you and to our audience that I lost my mother when I was just at the age of 13, 14 thereabout. And the way she died has been a pain to my heart until this time, because she went to give birth to, I don't know, I can say maybe to our last child, to her last child, and she never came back. And it is alleged that the reason why she died was because of, she didn't have enough blood, and the people who were supposed to come and donate blood did not come on time, and different many stories and all of that. Now, that situation has kept me on my toes from that moment until now that I'm talking about national issues. And I have been part of people who have been donating blood in certain hospitals in our country. Now, in my health policy, I will make sure that every district, every district has a hospital in the first place. When I say every district, I mean to say that, for example, those of you who live in Bonaberi, for example, you will have a district hospital. The district hospital is not the kind of district hospital that we have today. When I say a district hospital, the district hospital must have the facility that has to respond to the needs of the people. A district can contain about, let me say, 2 million people, for example. Or let me say, let me say 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
If a district has 500, contain 500 people, and that 500 people cannot have basic medical treatment, then it means that the country is not moving very well. Because one of the bone of a vibrant society is the health of the people. How can the people go to the hospital and they come back more sick than when they went to the hospital? So our hospital will be equipped with the modern facilities. Recently, or not recently, last year, I was in India. I was in Shada Hospital. I was in the Shada University, and we signed conventions and agreements on how to be able to help Cameroon to have modern hospitals. I tell you, Mimi, the hospital I went to in India, Shada Hospital, the moment you are at the gate, you are received at the gate. The reception alone gives you the impression that God has come to handle your case. The care of the nurses, the way they talk to you, the way they handle your situation, at the end of the day, you can even get well without having medication. So
Yes.
one of the ways we will be able to make sure that we get our health care strengthened is by training our medical staffs in the proper way, so that both the nurses and the doctors understand that they have a responsibility, first of all, to save lives. That is fundamental. The
That's
training
very important,
is
right?
fundamental.
Mm.
If we don't have good staff, medical staff, if the staff are there just because of money, like what obtains now in Cameroon, you have clinics all over the place, people dying in those clinics like chicken. Nobody cares, nobody questions it. We have seen women who are being operated with razor blades in hospitals in front of everybody. You know, those are things that actually creates a lot of confusion
Mm-hmm. Yes.
within the health sector. I don't know. It's like sometimes the line goes off, but it's okay.
No, it
So
doesn't
what
go
I'm
off.
saying is
It's
this.
probably the network that is not is going on and off, but we can hear you very clearly, and we it's clearer. Yes, it's okay. Mm.
Okay, thanks a lot. So these are the things that we are going to do. I will focus on making sure that both women and children have free medical service the moment they are at the hospital. This is important because to protect the
Okay.
society, you must first of all make sure that women and children are priority in terms of medical care. It is important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with some of these conventions I have already signed with certain foreign partners, especially in this health sector, we will be able to train our staffs. We will be able to bring equipments, modern equipments, to our hospitals and make sure that our hospital respond to the needs of the people. So hospital bills, somebody cannot come to the hospital and the person is dying and you are asking the person to pay bills first before you are attending to that patient. It will not work in my regime. You treat the patient and then the patient can pay later on. Those are the things that we are going to do to be able to make sure that the health sector becomes vibrant. Training the staff to respond to the modern way of medical response,
Mm-hmm.
then making sure that the hospitals are well equipped,
Mm-hmm.
and then building the hospitals in all of the districts, and the regions. When you talk about reference hospital, I'm not too sure that we really understand the meaning of the word reference hospital. Those reference hospital or regional hospital will be built to respond to all critical cases, so that when the case at the district hospital cannot be handled, they transfer the patient straight to the regional hospital or to the reference hospital for proper investigation where all the necessary equipments are available. We have partners that are ready. We have Cameroonians in the diaspora that are ready to be able to invest and to be able to supply equipments in our hospital that will respond to the needs of our people. Those are the things
That's a
that
good,
I am
yes.
doing. Those are the things that I'm going to do.
That's a good one. And also apologies about your mother. It's sad to hear that you lose a relative because of negligence or because of something that could be handled so easily. As we move on to
Thank you.
corruption. Corruption is one of the biggest problems also plaguing Cameroon. For many years, even the constitution has given provisions to fight corruption. We also have even the National Assembly voting some laws and putting laws in place to fight corruption, but the laws are not respected. And there's also embezzlement in Cameroon. It's been really, really, it's something that has met headlines. Cameroon has never gotten a better place in terms of war rankings when it comes to corruption. What would you do to fight these problems, particularly corruption?
Yeah, Mimi, thanks a lot. That aspect of corruption can be solved say it can be solved like ABC. I mean it. Why? Because we are living in an age they call digitalization. We are in a digital world, digital age. Many things are supposed to be digital. Many things are supposed to be computerized. But in the context of Cameroon, there is a lot of, traditional methods of doing things. For example, if you want to create a situation where people cannot embezzle, put the money into a digital form. Put that services into a digital form. For example, what time do people go to work in Cameroon? What time do they arrive at work in Cameroon? And when do they leave work? Because when we talk about corruption, we should not talk about only embezzlement of state funds. How do people attend services, public services in Cameroon, how do people respond to it? When you go to a public office, how are you treated as a citizen?
As a citizen. Good.
Those are
Yeah.
elements, those are elements that contribute to corruption. But now, when it comes to embezzlement, embezzlement is done because most of the time people are carrying cash. You see cash, for example, recently we saw how it is alleged that some youths who contributed to the payment of President Bia's caution as candidate. We saw them carrying. They said they carried. It was 40 million. They carried in a basket and brought it to the presidency. You get the point. Cash is still moving all over the place. In 2025, in a digital age, people still carry cash all over the place. And that is common in the Cameroon administration, where cash is the modus operandi of payment. But in my government, I will make sure that to digitalize the system. When you digitalize the system, it constrains people to give account of every transaction, and it is traceable. When the transaction is traceable, then you can fight corruption. But if the financial transaction is not traceable, people go and carry cash and they're walking all over the place with it. How do you account for it? It is alleged some time ago that a minister who was arrested for embezzlement some time ago, the wife had to burn some rooms where there were bags of money and so on.
That's right.
Keeping money in the house. So those are things that will not function in my government. Any minister that is caught with any reasonable amount in his or her house, you will be accounting for that money. If you cannot give reasonable account for that money, then you are out of government.
That's interesting. What about declaration of assets? Just briefly, when will you declare your assets? If you are a president today, when will you declare your assets?
The same day I take office, I'm going to declare my assets.
The same day. That's important. So there's been a lot of talks about opposition coalition being the only way to unseat incumbent President Paul Biya, who's been there for more than 40 years. Recently, you also spoke about a consensual opposition coalition in Cameroon, and you talked about a consensual candidate. Yet you still registered to run independently because people were asking before we came on board, we had to talk to people to find out from them what they think about your candidacy. Can you explain why you are talking about a consensual candidate within the opposition coalition and you still go ahead and deposit your file as an independent candidate? What explains that?
Well, in politics, there are strategies, and those strategies have to be taught very well before you go into action with those strategies. Tabling my candidature is a response to the strategy that we have as opposition political parties. And I will want to announce to you and to Cameroonians that are watching us at home and abroad that the consensual candidate is going to be announced through what we call a conclave. We are going to have a conclave immediately after the final list of the retained candidates is published. Even if my candidature is not retained, which I don't see that coming, but we have designed a coalition that is going to be coordinated not only by us, but by Cameroonians. Because we will be going in for a conclave, which will be almost like the conclave that we have in the Catholic Church when the Pope is supposed to be announced.
So the new Pope is supposed to be announced. When you say we will stay there, who is the we?
There are a number of political parties that are already in that vision of a consensual candidate right now. I am there. UPC is there. UDC is there. MP is there. When I say MP, Movement Progressist of Zipan Hile. Recently, we had a meeting with Minister Issa Chiruma. We are talking with Minister Bello Buba. We are talking with a lot of different people. As a matter of fact, in particular, I control at least 15 other young political parties that are answerable to me. It's not that I am controlling them, but they believe in me. 15 of them.
But are
Some
these
are
are
in
these
Gaundere,
candidates
like I just spoke to you.
that have filed their documents at the Elecam for the election?
Some of them, some of them have tabled their candidature. Some of them have tabled their candidature for the office. But I am saying that among the people I've mentioned so far, there are other civil society organizations that subscribe to our consensual candidate project. And there are other political parties, young political parties, who did not table their candidature that I am galvanizing. I just spoke to you about 15 of them who did not table their candidature. They are going to come in for this conclave, and it's going to form a strong bloc. And from that conclave, we will produce a candidate that will carry the flag for the opposition.
So that is
It might be
the
me,
main
it might be somebody
story.
else.
That is the takeaway for me from this discussion, that we are expecting a consensual candidate from the list that we've seen of people vying to be president in Cameroon. But before we proceed, there is a statement or a declaration that you made just recently on the mics of MMI when you attended a meeting in Yaoundé with PAL. Let us take a listen and we shall be right back, just shortly.
Matter of fact, I want to thank you for this wonderful privilege to speak on your TV and on your program. Fundamentally, I believe that all of the parties that are represented in this Congress of PAL are potential candidates for this 2025 presidential election. And USDP is part of this presidential election, and I am a candidate. So basically, that is the issue. But it is important for Cameroonians to understand that USDP have ever stood or always stood for coalition. And this time around, the work of the USDP on the ground has created a dynamism which has brought events like this one. I'm not trying to take the glory for the event that is being organized by PAL, but the truth is that we have been working fundamentally with PAL, and we believe that those are the things. This Congress is a manifestation of the work that we have been doing on the ground. So this time around, there will be a coalition. Even though I am a presidential candidate, but the primordial aspect about these elections is to make sure that you respond to the aspirations of the citizens or Cameroonians. And for the past few years, Cameroonians wishes that among the opposition political parties, there should be a consensual candidate. And we all are driven, and if you can listen to the messages today, we are all working towards that direction to make sure that even though we are individual presidential candidates, at some point in time we have to drop our egos, drop our personal ambition, drop even our personal perspective, and to respond to the aspirations of Cameroonians. And so that is the focus. So, but I am a presidential candidate, but the focus is to be able to get Cameroonians to respond to the aspirations of Cameroonians, which is that of a consensual candidate.
So what message are you sending to Cameroonians?
The message I'm sending to Cameroonians are in twofold. One, it is true that the electoral list has been called already, has been closed, so nobody can register again in the electoral list. But for those who have registered in the electoral list, from the statistics from Elecam, it is that we have about 8,200,000 Cameroonians who have registered in the electoral list. We are calling on all those who have registered to go to the polls on the 12th of October 2022. Whether you are in the diaspora or you are back here at home, you should go to the polls and you should vote the change that we need, because the change is important, not only for us opposition, but for you all as Cameroonians. So go and vote. As you have listened to some of the statistics, and the statistics about abstention or absentees in the electoral list is more than those who participate in the voting. So abstention is higher, and we are calling on those who feel that because some people believe that the elections or the result of election is already known by the manipulation of the current party in power. But I want to announce to them that the times have changed and we must change with the times. This election is one of the greatest elections we will ever have in the history of this country. And I want to encourage all Cameroonians to go to the polls in the northwest, in the southwest, in the east, in the central region, the littoral, in the west, in the south, in the north, Adamawa, and extreme north. Go and vote massively and protect your vote. The other point I want us to understand is that Cameroonians have asked for opposition parties to come together, and we are coming together. Believe in us, trust us that this time around we are going to deliver the goods. Thank you.
And we hope that you can be able to deliver the goods like you rightly said. That was a good one. And you kept talking about a consensual opposition candidate for the election. And you already mentioned that you made a big announcement today that we should expect to see that in the coming days, with or without your candidacy. Do you already have someone in mind? Can we have some names? Do you have anyone that you see standing to defend Cameroon to challenge Biya in the upcoming presidential election?
Well, Mimi, to the best of my knowledge, I stand as one of the youngest candidates when it comes to that platform that we are building. All of them are extremely qualified. Every one of us have a potential that describe the strength of a leader. It is true that you cannot vouch for yourself; other people must vouch for you. But I believe strongly that by the end of the day, as we continue to mobilize ourselves, we will be able to reason things out and to be able to say, okay, I will give my vote to this or to that. But honestly speaking, we are more than more than already 15 who are potential uh, consensual candidates, and I think that the vote is going to be very, 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 very hot. The exercise is going to be a hot one,
Very tight.
but it's
So
not
are
going
you
to
are
be a
you
violent
saying are you saying
one.
people want to vote for
Yeah,
you
it's going to be very
or
tight. But yeah, yeah. So I believe strongly that at the end of the day, we are going to have that candidate that we will come back to you guys, Cameroonians, and to say, this is your white smoke
so?
that has
But
come
for
out.
now, you're not sure yet. You are not sure who is going to emerge.
Yeah, like I said, it can be me, it can be somebody else, but I want to give you some tips. The tips I want to give to you and to Cameroonians now is that there are two things that should happen in this conclave. There are ladies I think there's going to be one or two ladies in the conclave, and there's going to be a young person like myself in the conclave. So you people should judge between youthfulness and female character. People should be able to judge and then come out with your judgment. Because I want to announce to you again that we are going to be calling on Cameroonians to put pressure on all the opposition parties to come together. If they don't come together this time around, whatever happens to Cameroon, they will be responsible. So the
They will
pressure
be
also must come from
responsible.
you, especially Muni.
Yes. But I think other than gender representation and also youthfulness, you also mentioned earlier about bilingualism, which is very important. We need a leader who can be able to express themselves in English and French so that they can understand challenges from both sides. Prince Ekosso, before we go, you've just
Exactly.
mentioned that you are the youngest. People are curious. This Prince says that he's the youngest. How old is he? What is the meaning of youngest? We don't know how old you are. We know that you are president of the United Socialist Democratic Party and you are a Yaoundé-based businessman. We don't know whether you're married, you have children. What are the things that you like? Where do you go to when you are like when you are when you want to just relax? What are the things that you like to do other than talking politics? What are the other things that you do? So can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we wind up?
Okay, Mimi, thanks a lot for that very tempting question. First of all, let me start with my qualification. I I have a degree in law, social sciences, and international relations from the Protestant University of Central Africa. I have a diploma in project management and impact analysis, still from the Protestant University of Central Africa. I have a diploma on practical theology and advanced leadership from the Christian University of Namibia. I have a degree on security management, sorry, a diploma in security management and youth radicalization from an institute based in the USA. I have a lot of different certifications, but I will not go into those details. Just to make sure that Cameroonians know my academic background and that I am strong in academics. I like to read. I like to listen to stories. I like to watch educative movies. I like to travel. I like family life. I have two fundamental children in my life. I'm a married man, and I seek to be able to make sure that the family of Cameroonians becomes strong and strengthened. So I like football. I like to watch football. When I was younger, I used to play football. I used to be a very good goalkeeper. But now I don't have the time to be able to carry out those exercises consistently. But I like sports. So I don't know whether I have answered some of those basic questions, but these are the things
Yes.
that move me. I like people. I like friendship. You know, I like to stay with people. When I don't be around with people, my life is not fulfilled. And I also do business. You know, I travel from time to time to different countries by the grace of God, and I am a fervent Christian who believes so much in God, and I pray a lot. I have a spiritual life that is guided by God. I believe in God, and I believe in people who are serving God. I respect people. I respect the clergies. I respect the imams and everybody. So that is my life.
Thank you so much for taking us into your private world so we get to understand what you stand for and who you are on a personal level. Thank you for being so honest with us about that. And just final words before we go. If you were elected president today, what would be your first plan of action? What would you do?
My first plan of action is to make sure that I encourage Cameroonians to believe in themselves and to stay away from the issues that would jeopardize their security. And when I talk about security, I would make sure that I tackle the Anglophone crisis headlong and that of Boko Haram. Those are going to be my priority to make sure that Cameroonians are secured and that they can live in an environment that is secured, especially for our children and for our women.
Thank you so much, Prince Michael Ngwese Ekosso, for joining us today on the road to Etoudi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mimi. It has been a very wonderful pleasure. After so many years, we are still to meet again. And I will be happy to come on board with you on subsequent programs. So I really
Right.
thank you very much. And I'm humbled for the strides you have made so far. And your team, I say God bless you all and congratulations.
Amen. Thank you. And MMI's doors are always open for you. That was the president of the United Socialist Democratic Party, Prince Michael Ngwese Ekosso, who was joining us. He's a presidential candidate in the upcoming presidential election. Elections Cameroon will let us know whose files were rejected, which files were accepted out of the 83 that have so far filed to contest in the upcoming presidential election by Saturday, July 26th, according to a press release by Elections Cameroon. The official list will be published. So we are going to keep you updated. Thank you so much for watching. It has been a pleasure as always. Thank you for your contributions. For those who have been sharing, we appreciate. Please keep spreading the word. Road to Etoudi is here to stay till the elections take place and even after. We continue to do analysis, discussions. We talk about the pertinent issues. We bring the people who matter on board to answer those questions that we've been asking, those burning questions. They are always here. I myself am here. I have a powerful editorial team behind me, a powerful technical team will always be here to answer your questions and bring all of these things together so that they can all make sense. That's why we are here. Thank you so much for watching once again. Until we meet again, goodbye.